Love after 60. A man who truly loves you will ask these 5 questions. The truth no one tells you. Welcome to the Success Mindset. I want to begin by saying how grateful I am that you are here with me today. In a world overflowing with quick interactions, polished photos, and carefully curated images of love, it is all too easy to forget what real connection looks like. We scroll through highlight reels, we see relationships displayed in picture-perfect snapshots, and we are told by society that gifts, compliments, or elaborate declarations are the true markers of love. Yet deep down, many of us have learned that these things, while sometimes beautiful, are not the foundation of something lasting. True love is not revealed by how loudly someone proclaims their feelings, but by how deeply they seek to know and understand you. By the time we reach our 60s, most of us have lived through enough joy and heartache to know that affection can be playful, warm, and even sincere, but it is not the same thing as commitment. Devotion speaks differently. It shows up not in temporary words, but in sustained presence. When we arrive at this later season of life, love takes on a new dimension. It becomes less about fireworks and more about quiet, steady warmth. It leans into silence. It leans into vulnerability, into those places that feel uncomfortable yet honest, because that is where truth lives. A man who truly loves you will not be content with surface conversations. He will not stop at admiring the version of you that the rest of the world sees, the confident, polished, public image. He will want to reach further, past those layers into the core of who you really are. That is where the quiet but profound difference lies between comfort and devotion. A relationship without curiosity slowly fades into indifference, but a relationship with genuine love is marked by questions, real, thoughtful questions asked not once, but again and again over time, with genuine intent and presence. That, my friends, is the psychology of true love. It is not passive, it is not indifferent, and it does not simply coexist. Instead, it actively pursues, it notices, it wonders, it pays attention, and it asks. And so today, I want to share with you 5 questions. These are not ordinary questions. They are quiet markers of love, the signs that reveal when a man's care is genuine and when his devotion is real. If a man asks you these things, you don't have to guess whether he truly loves you. His curiosity itself will tell you. His care will reveal itself. These are the questions that uncover the depth of his heart. But before we dive into them, I want to pause and say this. If something in today's reflection touches your journey of dating after 60, I would be so grateful if you'd subscribe to Wise Life After 60 and share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us what true love means to you now, in this chapter of your life. Because the wisdom you carry might be exactly what another woman needs to hear. Now let's begin. These questions are not abstract ideas. They are not fleeting, romantic lines. They are drawn from life itself, from the countless ways love proves itself quietly, over time. And the very first question may surprise you with its simplicity, yet it holds a depth that grand declarations could never match. Question 1. How are you really doing? At first glance, it may seem like the most ordinary question in the world. We hear it dozens of times a week, don't we? A cashier at the grocery store might ask, a neighbor might say it in passing, even a casual friend might toss it into a phone call. And almost without thinking, we reply with the familiar script, "I'm fine." We say it quickly, politely, and then we move on. But when a man who truly loves you asks, "How are you really doing?" it is not routine, it is revelation. Because in those few words, what he is really saying is, "Your truth matters to me. I remember hearing a woman in her 70s share a memory of her late husband. She told me, "What I cherished most was that he never believed my 'I'm fine.' He had this way of just sitting with me until I could finally open up and share what was really in my heart." That kind of patience is rare. It is not about rushing to solve every problem or offering quick advice. It is about creating a space where you feel safe enough to bring your inner world into the light. And in Love After 60, that presence is one of the greatest gifts. Because let's be honest, at this stage of life, our challenges look different than they did in our 30s or 40s. They are not about chasing promotions or raising children anymore. They are about adjusting to retirement, coping with health concerns, or navigating the grief of missing loved ones we have lost. These struggles are quieter, sometimes lonelier, and often harder to put into words. But a man who truly loves you will not avoid those realities. He will lean into them. He will ask. He will listen. And most importantly, he will stay. Psychologists often say that real love is built on attention, not just hearing words, but noticing the pauses, the tone, the way your eyes shift when you say, "I'm okay." A man who asks how you are really doing is stepping outside of himself to enter into your reality, not the polished version of you that everyone else sees, but the evolving, complex, vulnerable you. And that is where intimacy is built. Think about it. Infatuation delights in your laughter, but true love will sit quietly with your tears. Comfort may bring lightness, but devotion will bring presence. When a man dares to ask you sincerely how you are really doing, he is saying that he wants to know all of you. The joy and the ache, the fears and the hopes, the things you don't always share because you're not sure anyone will care enough to listen. And when you realize that someone not only asks, but keeps asking over time, you begin to understand. You are not only cared for, you are deeply seen. And being seen is one of the rarest, most precious gifts of dating after 60. So when this question comes to you, don't dismiss it as ordinary. Receive it. Let yourself notice the intent behind it. Because in that moment, you are not just being asked a question, you are being honored. But love is never only about who we are today. It is also about who we are still becoming. At 60, 70, or even 80, we are not finished. We are still learning, still growing, still unfolding into new versions of ourselves. And that leads us to the second question, one that reveals a man's willingness to not only love you as you are, but to walk beside you into the future you are still creating. Question 2. What can I do to help you grow? At first, this question can sound unusual. Growth is something many of us associate with youth, with building careers, raising families, or pursuing ambitious dreams in earlier decades of life. But the truth is that growth never ends. Even in our 60s, 70s, or beyond, we are still becoming. Growth at this stage may not be about climbing ladders or chasing new accolades, but it remains just as meaningful. It may show up as nurturing health with greater care, deepening wisdom by reflecting on our experiences, rediscovering long set-aside creativity, or simply learning to live with more peace and joy in the time we are given. When a man who loves you looks at you and asks, "What can I do to help you grow?" he is declaring something profound. I see you not as someone finished, but as someone still unfolding. He is telling you that he wants to walk beside you, not only as you are today, but as you continue evolving tomorrow. There is a timeless proverb from Chinese wisdom that says, "To love someone deeply gives you strength." Being loved deeply gives you courage? This question embodies that truth. A man who asks how he can support your growth is offering both strength and courage. He is acknowledging that you still have dreams worth chasing, ideas worth exploring, and inner horizons worth reaching. His love becomes a partnership not just of comfort, but of forward motion. Consider how rare this is. Too often, relationships at later stages settle into stagnation, a kind of quiet resignation where both partners stop encouraging each other to expand. But genuine love refuses to treat life as complete. It insists that as long as we are living, we are still learning, still growing, still capable of surprising ourselves. The philosopher Seneca once wrote, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." That line carries particular resonance in senior romance, because as long as we love, we must also keep learning how to love more fully. A man who asks how he can help you grow proves that his affection is not static. It is not content to keep you in the past or even the present. Instead, it is alive, attentive, and willing to adapt alongside you. It sees you as a dynamic being with layers still to unfold. And that is love at its most empowering. Imagine the possibilities of such a question in your own life. Perhaps it means he encourages you to finally take that painting class you've always wanted, or he supports you in building healthier habits. Maybe it means he joins you on daily walks, not just for exercise, but for companionship. Or maybe it is as simple as giving you space and encouragement to pursue your writing, your music, your gardening, or even just the quiet wisdom of your reflections. Growth is not always loud or dramatic. Often it is subtle, but it is always significant. A man who loves you enough to ask how he can support your growth is saying, "I don't just want to keep you where you are. I want to see you become more of yourself." Now let us move to the third question, one that turns the lens of love towards significance and belonging. A question that reveals not just curiosity about your growth, but a deep longing to know how he fits into the story of your life. Question 3. What is my importance in your life? This question carries a quiet vulnerability that is both disarming and powerful. On the surface, it could be mistaken for insecurity, as though he is fishing for compliments or reassurance. But if you listen carefully, you will realize it is something much deeper. What he is really asking is, do I matter to you? Not just in your days, but in your soul. In senior relationships, where time feels more precious and every shared moment more meaningful, this question becomes an expression of devotion rather than doubt. It is his way of seeking to understand the role he plays in your heart, the space he occupies in your world, and whether his presence adds true meaning to your life. I once knew a woman named Clara, in her early 70s. She had been widowed for nearly a decade when she met a quiet, thoughtful man named Harold. They spent many gentle afternoons together, sipping tea in her garden, sharing long conversations, and exchanging the kind of stories that only decades of life can give. One day, Harold surprised her by asking, "Do I make a difference in your life, or am I just passing through?" Clara later told me that the question brought tears to her eyes, not because she doubted his love, but because it revealed the depth of his care. She looked at him and said, "You are not here to replace what I lost. You are here to remind me that I still have chapters left to write." For Harold, that was enough. He didn't need to be everything. He simply needed to know that he was something important, something that mattered. That is the power of this question, in love after 60. It is not about dependence or neediness. It is about significance. It reflects the universal human desire to matter to someone else. Psychologists remind us that significance is one of our deepest emotional needs. We want to know that our presence is not just tolerated, but treasured. A man who asks about his importance in your life is not seeking control. He is seeking truth. He wants to know how his love is landing in your heart and whether it is giving you light, comfort, and meaning. That act of vulnerability is, in itself, a form of devotion. Because indifference never asks. Only love dares to risk that question. When such a moment comes, it can feel startling in its intimacy. If you have ever been asked it, you know how deeply it reaches. And if you have not, imagine the courage it requires for someone to look at you and ask where they stand in your life. That courage is itself a sign of genuine love. Because what he is really saying is, I want to know if I matter enough to you that I can continue to give more of myself. With that, let us move into the fourth question, one that takes us beyond significance and into the realm of support. Because love that lasts must be able to stand not only in joy, but also in struggle. Question 4. How can I support you when you're struggling? This is not a question most people ask easily. Many relationships, especially in their early stages, remain focused on the lighter side of life, the laughter, the romance, the ease. But when you have lived long enough, you know the truth. Struggles are inevitable. They may arrive quietly, like the creeping difficulties of health, or loudly, like moments of grief, loneliness, or sudden change. In Love After 60, struggle is not an occasional guest. It is part of life's rhythm. The question is not whether hardship will come, but how two people will face it together. A man who truly loves you will not avoid your storms. He will not pretend they don't exist. Instead, he will lean toward you and ask how he can stand beside you in them. There is a beautiful line from the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. No great thing is created suddenly. That includes love. Lasting love is not built in sunshine alone. It is forged in the storms. Real love grows deeper when it learns how to remain steady, how to stand firm when everything else feels uncertain. When a man asks, "How can I support you when you're struggling?" he is saying something profound. He is saying, "I want to be there for you, not only in the light, but in the dark." This is a love that honors your independence while offering his strength. It says, "I will not try to erase your struggles, but I will walk through them with you." And at this stage of life, that promise carries immeasurable weight. Many of us carry invisible burdens, memories, regrets, health concerns, or the ache of loved ones we miss. To know that someone is willing not only to acknowledge those burdens, but to ask how best to help you carry them. That is love of the deepest kind. Think about your own life for a moment. What kind of support matters most to you when you are struggling? Is it a listening ear, someone who simply sits with you in silence? Is it a steady hand that helps you take the next step? Or is it simply the reassuring presence of someone who will not walk away? Whatever your answer, a man who asks this question is showing you that he is willing to meet you in the way you most need, rather than the way that feels easiest for him. That flexibility, that humility, is one of the strongest indicators of devotion. This kind of love reminds us that genuine relationships are not frightened by silence, not unsettled by tears, and not deterred by hardship. Instead, they lean closer, they draw nearer, and they ask, "How can I be here for you?" That is love that feels like home. And then, as love proves itself not only through joy, but also through support in struggle, there remains one final question, perhaps the most vulnerable of all, because it turns the mirror fully on the man himself. Question 5. Am I making your life lighter or heavier? This question is rare, tender, and courageous. It is not about what he receives from you. It is about what he gives. It reveals a man's awareness that love is not measured only in laughter or romance, but in how his presence affects your spirit day after day. In the quiet of an evening, in the pause between conversations, he might look at you and ask, "Am I making your life lighter or heavier?" It is a question that requires humility, because it is not asking for praise, it is asking for truth. I once knew a gentleman named Walter who remarried in his 70s. One evening, after watching his wife carry the weight of her health challenges, he turned to her and quietly asked, "Am I adding to your burden or easing it?" She later shared that the question itself brought her comfort. It reminded her that she was not carrying life alone. That willingness to examine his own impact rather than assuming his presence was always positive deepened their bond in a way no grand romantic gesture ever could. Psychologists often say that love matures when we become aware not just of our intentions, but of our impact. This question embodies that maturity. A man who asks whether he lightens your life or makes it heavier is practicing self-reflection. He is daring to see himself through your eyes. That is a rare quality, and it is one of the purest signs of devotion. Because in senior romance, we are not looking for someone to dazzle us with passion alone. We are longing for someone who steadies us with peace. When a man asks this question, he is saying, "I don't want to be just company. I want to be comfort." He is proving that his love is not casual, but responsible. True love, in the end, is not about adding weight to each other's shoulders. It is about making the path lighter, the days gentler, and the heart freer. A man who asks this question is telling you, without needing to say the words outright, "My love is here to lift you." When you place all of these 5 questions together, they form a quiet but powerful language of devotion. How are you really doing? What can I do to help you grow? What is my importance in your life? How can I support you when you're struggling? Am I making your life lighter or heavier? These are not ordinary questions. They are extraordinary because they reveal not just curiosity, but commitment. They show a willingness to keep learning, to keep listening, to keep discovering you again and again, even after decades of life. Love after 60 can sometimes feel as though all the great questions have already been asked, that the time for discovery has passed. But the truth is, as long as curiosity remains alive, love remains alive. These questions prove that genuine love never stops asking, never stops noticing, never stops caring. Anyone can say the words, "I love you," but only someone who truly means it will ask these questions. Only someone committed to your heart will seek to know your truth, your growth, your struggles, your meaning, and the weight of their presence in your life. So if you find yourself in a relationship where these questions are asked sincerely, treasure it. That kind of love is rare. And if you are still waiting, take heart, because the right man, when he comes, will not only cherish your presence, he will seek to understand your soul. Love, in the end, is not measured by the words we hear, but by the questions that reach our spirit. Keep your heart open. Care tenderly for your soul. And until we meet again, may you always be surrounded by love that not only speaks, but truly sees.